Hey everyone, I am Chief Meteorologist Astronomy from WDEF News 12 in downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. We try to keep you updated as much as possible with information about what's going on with weather in and around this area of the country, and occasionally we like to bring you more information about what's going on up in the skies. Neat opportunity to look around for what's happening with astronomy, whether that's satellites flying overhead, different planets in the sky, anything in the way of the northern lights, again with powerful solar storms that can be seen this far to the south. We call this SKYBLOG12, keeping you updated with things astronomical, including local groups that have opportunities for viewing through telescopes, things like that. In this case, we're going to be telling you about some opportunities coming up as we go into tonight especially, but also over the course of the next several days. As this begins to wane a little bit, we're of course talking about the Perseid Meteor shower. This is a area of time where the Earth is moving through a stream of cosmic debris left over by a comet, and as it encounters that debris out there, whether it is aspirin-sized or bigger boulder-sized types of rocks and ice and dust left over from that object passing through the solar system. That's how the Earth gains weight as it passes through the solar system. It picks up 10 tons a day of cometary debris just sweeping around the solar system, so our Earth is getting heavier all the time. But for us, the neat thing is that you're going to be able to see those bits of debris slamming into the Earth's atmosphere and making a blazing trail across the sky. Now, a lot of them are going to be just very minuscule. They're going to be very short, maybe a second long, and they're going to be some of them that will be a little bit more powerful. Those will go, some cases, across the sky. Some will look like they're exploding all the way through. Some may be what are called fireballs, and those are going to be the most brilliant out there. The problem is we may have a few more clouds out across the area for the next couple of nights. Doesn't look like it's going to be a total washout, but again, clouds could interfere with some of the meteor shower coming up. The basic thing you want to do, looking at our graphic here, is again, the meteor shower started back around July 14th as the Earth made its way toward the central part of that debris field. Now, tonight, the 11th through the 12th, we are peaking as it goes through the thickest part of that meteor shower stream of debris, and afterwards, all the way to September the 1st, we'll continue to see meteors coming out of this section of the sky, so named again for the Perseids, for the constellation from which they appear to come out of, the constellation of Perseus the hero. That'll be again in the northeast. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. The meteors will seem to come from this area of the sky. So looking back to the northeast will be your best bet on that. We'll talk a little bit more about meteor practices, best viewing practices coming up here in just a little bit. But again, this will be happening, the peak of which the best potential will be tonight and into very early Saturday morning, the 12th. But we should see, again, diminishing chances of meteors coming through the sky at this area as we go into the course of the next several days. So good news for astronomers, good opportunity to see a little bit more about what's going on out there. There's taking a look at some of the details for what we're looking at. This from skyandtelescope.org, and looking again in the area right here on your screen, neat little online interactive sky chart that they have. The constellation of Perseus the hero rises in the northeastern skies, and you'll be seeing that coming up into the area tonight. It'll be rising at about 10 o'clock into Friday night, looking back toward the northeast. So you'll start to see that moving its way above the horizon right about between 10 o'clock and midnight. It's going to take a while for the radiant, that we call it, moving, that's where the meteors appear to come from, to clear the haze layer near the horizon. So it may take a little bit to get better meteors out there. Now, the good news is the moon is on its waning phase, so it won't rise until much later tonight, until about 2-3 o'clock in the morning. So as this is going to be rising in the northeastern skies, the moon won't be up for several more hours, but we will see again that area heading upwards above the horizon, and we will see that potential for better viewing the farther we go toward about midnight and afterwards. That area of where the radiant is going to come from is going to continue to make its way up and over portions of the northeastern sky, and that's going to make its way over close to the zenith of the sky, mainly looking northeast and then up and to around close to the apex of the sky, coming up just past midnight into very early tomorrow morning. The moon will be rising right after that, again about 3 o'clock in the morning, so we will see the potential of maybe some moonlight drowning out some of the meteors, but shouldn't be too much of a problem out there. And again, you'll be watching to the northeast, and then that constellation rising toward about the apex of the sky, getting closer to around sunrise tomorrow morning. But the best opportunity will be 10, 11 o'clock Eastern time and afterwards as Perseus gets higher in the sky. Now, what we're looking for is, again, you should be seeing the radiant, the area where these stars are coming out of, moving their way upwards as we go into early morning, the 12th, northeast. That's the radiant making its way upwards into the sky. So again, good opportunity to see more activity going on there. This is, again, an opportunity to see bits of debris, introducing everybody to a little bit more about what goes on up there. This is where we get a lot of our meteor showers out there. Shooting stars, you can call them that, but they're not stars. They're just chunks of leftover debris left over from the formation of the solar system. Now, the Perseid meteor shower sometimes does have, again, the opportunity to do a lot more in the way of activity where it comes to how many meteors you see per hour. That is really something to be able to see on there. And the information, let me just put this up here, I had the wrong website for a moment. The really cool thing is the speed of the activity will start all the way on through. Now, by the time we hit about the time the constellation is overhead from the northeast upwards, midnight on upwards, there is a potential that we could see around 150 meteors per hour. That's not a guarantee, though. Again, that's about almost 2 meteors per minute. So you won't be seeing something every single second, but you will, keeping an eye on the situation and the sky out there, you could see various amounts of meteors out there, maybe one every 5 minutes, maybe one every few seconds. It's difficult to say. It's kind of hard to forecast what happens in these situations. There have been tales to where you can get a lot of meteors going on, what are called meteor storms. Back in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, there were reports of just dazzling amounts of meteors coming out of the sky and doing a very good job of just overwhelming the people who saw it. Sometimes people thought that the world was coming to an end based on how many meteors were zipping on by in the sky right there. So almost unbelievable to see a lot of that activity. But for right now, again, it's possible to see 150 meteors per hour. That will be, again, the maximum for this one. Maybe higher. It's difficult to say. We'll have to just get out there and see what we're going to be taking a look at. Now, for weather purposes, this is a whole bunch of information, but follow along with the bouncing cursor. The blue line on the screen, this information from the National Weather Service in Morristown. The blue line as we go into Saturday night, that's the gray area on the screen. Sunset, again, around 8 to 9 o'clock. Cloud cover looking like it will part a little bit. It won't be totally clear, but we will see the potential of at least a clearer sky. Maybe not totally clear, but again, down to about 20% coverage, so that's not bad. Could be totally clouded over, could be rainfall, but we're not seeing any rain into around the area of overnight. No thunderstorms either. We will be back to thunderstorm possibilities getting into around Saturday afternoon and evening. Doesn't look like severe weather. More on our forecast later on for details on there. But for overnight, again, partly cloudy to mostly clear almost, and then increasing on the cloud cover as we go into early Saturday morning. right before sunrise as more thunderstorms start to make their way a little bit closer to us. So hopefully looking pretty good. It will be humid out there, humidity in the high 90% range, and temperatures for lows back in the lower 70s. Good possibility of, again, a kind of a sweaty evening, and there is that potential for bugs out there, so don't forget the bug spray. Now, for into the early morning hours, again, what we're going to be seeing is looking up to that area as Perseus rises over the horizon and heads upwards. We'll be seeing, again, the potential for that area of the sky to host the meteor shower. That's where the radiant is going to be coming from. The best idea, instead of standing out and just craning your neck upwards, find yourself like a lawn chair or some type of reclinable type situation where you can lay down and just look upwards. That will be your best bet, so you won't have to strain the old neck muscles by too much. You'll be able to see a little bit more of what's happening without having to just crane your neck upwards all the time. Again, that bug spray will help. Have some ice water around. It's not going to be anything in the way of very cool and very dry. So this is kind of one of the more uncomfortable meteor showers of the year when it comes to local viewing around this area of the country. But if you've got the opportunity to kind of lean back, relax, and watch the skies, that's going to be your best bet. This is not something that you can watch with a telescope. There's no way to tune the telescope in unless you've got like a wide field electronic telescope, which you can, again, see a lot of the sky and catch some of those meteors flying by. There's no way to see a meteor zipping by the sky and get your telescope in that area that quickly to focus in as to what's going on. But if you're observing and if you have a camera that can go kind of macro view and look a little wider at the sky, that's where you may capture some of the best views out there, especially right about and just before about midnight as those meteors zoom out of that particular portion of the sky. So definitely want to make yourself as comfortable as possible to sit out there and watch. The meteors may not all happen at once. They may be spread out over several hours, so you do have the opportunity to watch a little bit more about what is going on through the evening hours. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. Find a nice place away from city lights. That light pollution can drown out a little bit more of your smaller meteors, so you want somewhere well away from city lights. And you also want to see, again, we don't have too much trouble with the moon rising just about roughly about midnight and afterwards into about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. The moon is going to be in its waxing crescent phase, so there's not much light coming out of this, but city lights will do a very good job of wiping out some of those smaller meteors. Some of those meteors will go very quickly across the sky, and some may seem to sort of slowly trek their way across while kind of exploding a little bit as they go along. So there could be a variation of all types of meteors for tonight, so looking forward to seeing a little bit more about what we may actually see out of this. We'll give you updates on this online as we go into later on tonight. So keep it tuned to News 12. And if you've got pictures, we'd love to see them. So go ahead and send them to us at pictures@WDEF.com, or you can drop it to us on our social media pages if you'd like to know a little bit more about what is happening there. But again, tonight, the 11th into the 12th, Friday night into Saturday morning, that's the peak of one of the biggest meteor showers of the year, the Perseids. And again, that's coming up later on tonight. So hopefully some good viewing out there. Good luck in trying to capture some of the meteors just visibly. Again, this is an excellent opportunity to introduce your kids, your grandkids, to a little bit more about how cool astronomy is, and just taking a look at doing a little bit of stargazing out there into the night sky. So a great opportunity to see a little bit more. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek. Thanks for joining us for our online edition of SKYBLOG12 for the Perseid Meteor Shower. We'll have more throughout the weekend on your weather forecast, so stay tuned for more with News 12 on air and online. Keep looking up. Good stargazing tonight. Hopefully the weather cooperates for everything. And keep it tuned to News 12 throughout the rest of the weekend for further details on what's going on in the skies and, of course, on your weather forecast. Thanks for joining us for this edition of SKYBLOG 12.